Hello, this is the Political Christian Channel. My name is Brent. I am your host, and it's been a little bit since I've uploaded a video. Life's been crazy. Been spending time with the family. Been working on assignments and projects for school and all that stuff. So finally, here at 11 o'clock at night on a Friday night, I have a chance to upload a video on some things. Now, there has been a lot going on lately in the news. We did have a tragedy happen this past weekend. The date today is 11/10/2017. On Sunday, there was a shooting of a church over in Texas, and 26 people were unfortunately killed in that shooting. It's very tragic, and of course, it's being politicized. I've already touched on the gun subject. It's not something that I really want to revisit right now um, because there's a lot of the same stuff being recycled through the rhetoric in the media, so we're not going to talk about that at the moment, and it's still a little early to politicize that, I believe. I like to think that we as Americans care a little more about life and a little less about playing politics when it comes to people's lives. But a lot of people are playing politics on both sides, and it's kind of sad to me that we can't take a moment and mourn as a country for this loss and this terrible act done by this individual, and and take that time to be able to do that. I do want to say Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans. My cousin he's in the Army. He's been in the Army for 21 years now. He is going to be retiring soon. We're very proud of him. He's done 3 tours of duty in Iraq. That's over 3 years that he's been away from his family. Over the course of that stint of him being in Iraq, and they're still going strong. He has 3 kids, um, and they're a really cool part of our family. So very proud of him and his service to the country, and excited to see what the next chapter in his life has for him after being in the military for over 2 decades. So we'll see where that goes. Today, I want to talk about. I want to start on part 2 of our little stint of the political parties versus the Bible and what we as Christians believe, and what the biblical perspective is on some of these stances that we like to take in the political realm here in the United States. And I'm going to be talking about the use of taxpayer dollars for welfare and things of that nature. Not specifically welfare, but programs that assist people, money programs, EBT cards, things like that. So this is one that my liberal friends who are Christians like to push really hard. They like to say, well, the Republicans don't care about the poor, they only care about the rich, and they want to cut government spending, and they want to cut these programs and things like that. And while I don't completely agree with the reasoning on that, because generally the Republican Party believes that it should be up to individuals to do with their money what they will, not necessarily the government to do with their money. And taxes are definitely a kind of a crutch for a lot of people, especially the middle class, because we work hard 40 hours a week, and then we get money taken out of our paycheck. So every paycheck that you get should be a lot bigger than it is, but they've taken out Social Security, and they've taken out state and local or state and federal income tax. And a 30-year paycheck later, there's your actual paycheck. So your take-home pay is a lot less than what your hourly pay should provide. But they're trying to work on that right now. Apparently, failing very miserably. Not a fan of anything that they've come out with yet, but maybe they'll eventually get it right. But anyway, so we have the taxes coming out, and we don't really have much of a say in that. I am personally a proponent of fair tax. It would force the government to do things that would stimulate the economy, because without the economy stimulated and people spending money, then they're not going to have any money to spend on the things they want to spend on, like military, like these welfare programs and things like that. It forces them to think of how they can make the economy better instead of trying to create jobs. Because while jobs are an indication of economy, they aren't necessarily how do I say that? They're not necessarily the indicator and the thermometer for the economy, because everyone can have a job, but some of it might be part-time jobs. And those people might not have that much money. They might be working at fast food restaurants and things like that when they really should be working a full-time job somewhere behind a desk or something more suited to their skill set. But because of economic situations, those types of jobs kind of dwindle, and they have to go take up these other jobs that aren't in the field that they are specialized in. So I really believe that the fair tax would be a better thing, but that's a complete and total tangent from what we're talking about today. So the government and taking the money that they get from us and giving it to others. And that's a lot of people that are liberal, that are Christians, point to that as a good thing that the Democrat Party wants to do. And while I agree with the sentiment that we should be helping those less fortunate, I don't agree with the premise that the government should be what's doing that. Reason being, I feel it is a huge cop-out for those Christians. I feel it's a huge cop-out for anybody, and I'm not scared to say it. If you believe that it's better for you to just give money to the government and let them just deal with it, rather than you do something yourself, then you are missing the entire point of the gospel and the commands that Jesus gave the disciples and in turn us, and how they should live their life and how they should interact with the people around them in need and things like that. So it's really easy when you think that the money's coming on your paycheck. In your mind, you're going, oh, well, the government will take care of them. I don't really have to do anything. That's a very dangerous mindset, I believe. And you're ignoring people that are hurting. And what's going on? My computer getting notifications. But I feel it's a big cop-out. I really do. And I don't think that a Christian should be willing to simply just hand over money that that's going to end up getting misused anyway, and feeling that they're validated in that, and that they have reached their commandment of loving thy neighbor and assisting the poor and the widows and things like that. I think it's a huge cop-out. I want to get that across. It's a huge cop-out, and if that's what you believe, then you've missed the entire point of the gospel, of the Bible, from page 1 all the way to the back of the page, whatever page that is in your translation, in your version, in your study Bible. It's different, of course, depending on all that. But from page 1 to the end, you have completely missed it if that's what you think you should be doing. One of the things that Jesus did while he was on earth and he was working with his disciples was he sent them out, and he told them to go and take care of these people, heal the sick, minister to the needy. And they went out and did that. And he was doing that on a constant basis. And he was showing people that, on the financial side, it's necessarily not where you're rich. It's the gospel. It's just getting plugged in with God and following the word and God's teachings. But we do live in a society that requires money, and he didn't necessarily make money appear, but he fed thousands. A couple instances in the New Testament, he had people following him. They realized, oh, it's dinner time, but the people weren't leaving, so he fed them, and so he ministered to their physical needs as well. And what happens when you allow the government to just do it? They only get half of what they really need. People need nourishment, of course. They need food, they need clean drinking water, things like that. But the other half of that, they really need love and support, and to be told about Jesus, and to let them know that there's hope beyond this world. And that's the part that the government fails at. Also, when you're just letting the government do it, you'd have no personal hand in it. Jesus, when he ascended to heaven, his last moments here on earth, he commanded everyone that was there witnessing it to go out and make disciples. He didn't say, go fund, the apostle disciples. He said for them to go make disciples. Them as in all the people watching. So again, it's a huge cop-out if you're going to expect someone else to do what God has commanded us to do. I remember my first missions trip, and this trip put a huge perspective for me in place and in the forefront. And even as a young teenager, seeing what impact I had on like a 4-day thing down in Atlanta. I grew up in the northern suburbs of Atlanta, and all we did was go down to Atlanta, hour drive, and we went down there and stayed in a church. We slept in a church. We did a lot of things around the church for the church. This is a very poor, rundown part of Atlanta. We got to go out and play with kids in the inner city neighborhoods on the little playgrounds that they had in their parks and things, and it was really life changing and perspective. It gave me a huge perspective. Too often we think missions as giving some money to somebody and sending them overseas. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. There's definitely not anything wrong with that, because there are people that have been called to do that. And in order for them to do that, they need people who are faithful, that can give and financially support them so that they can do that ministry overseas. But for those of us that are still here, still in the States, still at home, there is a bountiful mission field in our backyard. And that mission trip taught me that. Years to follow, I did mission trips to Jacksonville. We did kid crusades. We went knocking on doors, and we're told, up front, going before we went to those doors, don't be scared of what you see, but you might see, people, just huffed up crack, or not huffed up crack, but shot up some drugs. It was a really bad part of town that we were in. And these kids that we were working with really needed some type of hope outside of that home environment. And it's just eye-opening, because this stuff is happening in our backyards. And to sit there and to tell me that it's a better idea for the government to take money out of my check and to just go give them food and let them live in that situation is the best thing, and it's a great thing, and it exonerates me from having to do anything about it. It's a disgusting mentality to me. Absolutely disgusting based on what I've seen. Sorry if I'm offending you, not really, because I don't care. That's disgusting. It should be you out there reaching out to these people. You can only give them so much. Jesus is what's going to give them hope. Our last president liked to talk about hope and change. The real hope and change doesn't come from the government or the president or policies that we put in place. The real hope and change comes from Jesus Christ and those who walk the walk he walked and minister to people and point people to him. That's where the hope and change is coming from. So no, I don't want the government to take my money so that they can do these social programs. I'd rather them keep it in my pocket to better enable me to do things like that in my own backyard, in situations that I know that they're actually helping the people, not just feed them or give them clean water or something like that, but also giving them a real message of hope. Now, obviously, non-Christians aren't going to be on board with that, and to that I say, so you'd rather pay for an infrastructure and waste all that money when there's organizations, not just Christian churches. There's mosques, there's temples, there's Buddhist churches that do this kind of work all across our nation. If I were a politician, I would be pushing some type of legislation that would take all that money that they get. Even though I don't want them to take the money, I know it's gonna happen. It's hard to get around. But if they're gonna take it, I'd rather them take it and not pay for all these people to sit there and sign paperwork and create policies and push stuff, and only a fraction of the money goes to actually feeding people and helping people. And I'd rather pour that into all of these organizations that are local, that are already doing this, that already have the infrastructure and the volunteers to do it, and allow them to reach to these people, because it's more efficient. I mean, everything government does seems to bog down. Look at the situation the VA is in. Everyone that wants to talk about universal health care, look at the VA. I don't want to go wait all day when I have a cold to get some type of medicine that'll help my symptoms, or an antibiotic for a strep throat or something like that. The government's so inefficient in that stuff, and they're inefficient with our money. And to think that we can take a fraction of our check every pay period and let that be our ministry to our local world around us. It's just sickening to me. That's not the point. The point is for us to go out into our communities ourselves. And so that's my stance on that. Not saying the Republicans have that perfect, because they have their problems in this too. But the Democrat stance and the whole welfare state and things like that, I really don't think that's the answer for our woes. I don't think that's the answer for helping people out of rough situations. Do we need a safety net? Sure, absolutely. Not everyone has that same support and things like that, and not everyone's part of a church or knows of people that are part of a church that can reach out to them. I'm not saying a safety net's not needed. What I'm saying is this constant money flow and the waste that goes with it. That's mostly what agitates me about that system, the waste that goes with it, and all the people that they have to hire to make this stuff happen when people are volunteering and doing the same thing in our communities. Um, that's what's annoying. So, as far as that whole social state of welfare and targeting communities to you know, back them with government money and things like that, I'm just not for that. I'm really not for that. I believe we as Christians need to be the ones that are stepping up and helping these people and seeing real change in our communities. So that's part 2 of our comparison of political parties and stances and what the Bible has to say about that. If you like what you're hearing or anything else, any of the other videos, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button on the bottom, share the videos, get the word out. I'm wanting to hit some pretty hard subjects, and it's more entertaining when there's some comments and maybe some back and forth and some debate with people. So go ahead and share it, subscribe so that you see when the videos pop up. You can follow me on Twitter. I'll put my @handle down below. I believe it is Real P Christian or @RealPChristian. I just have to double check that. It's really late, so my brain's not fully working on some of the details. But like, subscribe, share, and we will see you next time. God bless.